My name is Aiden Cole, and up until the day I died, I believed loyalty and kindness could fix anyone. I believed love meant sacrifice. I believed that if you gave people everything, eventually they would see your worth. I was wrong, dead wrong. We grew up in the same neighborhood, me and Lena Hayes. Our houses were separated only by an old wooden fence, the kind you could see through if you push your eye into the slats. I watched her grow from the girl who braided flowers into my shoelaces to the young woman who made every hallway fall silent when she walked through. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, soft but sharp, angelic but dangerous without meaning to be. And I loved her. For 11 years, I loved her. I never told her, not really. I convinced myself she already knew. I was always there, homework partner, late-night food delivery after exams, personal driver when it rained. Whenever she cried, I was there with tissues and silence. Whenever she laughed, I pretended it was enough just to be near her. But everything changed the day Damian Cross entered our school. He was the perfect example of trouble dressed like a prize. Leather jacket, motorcycle boots, tattoos he wasn't actually old enough to have, and a pair of eyes that looked like they'd seen more darkness than daylight. People whispered he'd done time in juvenile detention. Others said he ran with a gang outside the city. No one knew what the truth was, so everyone assumed the worst. Everyone except Lena. I still remember the moment she first looked at him. Something in her expression cracked, like she'd been asleep her whole life and just woke up. She smiled at him in a way she'd never smiled at me. And from that moment on, I became invisible. I warned her. God knows I tried. Lena, he's dangerous. Just please be careful. She looked at me like I was something on the bottom of her shoe. It's not your job to control my life, Aiden. That sentence broke something inside me, though I didn't reel. The final blow came when Damian was exposed online. A series of leaked videos, bullying, fights, threats. He was suspended indefinitely. The internet tore him apart. He spiraled, drowning himself in drugs and alcohol until one night, he drove his motorcycle into a concrete barrier and died instantly. Lena shattered, but instead of blaming him or the choices she made, she blamed me. She was convinced I was the one who posted the videos. It didn't matter that I had nothing to do with it. It didn't matter that I'd spent months trying to protect her. In her eyes, I was the villain. I was the reason he was gone. I tried explaining, begging her to believe me. She stared through me like I was already a corpse. And then, 1 month later, the night before our college entrance results were released, she called me crying. Aiden, please. I need to talk to you. I am sorry. I was wrong. I wanted to believe her so desperately. I wish I could say I hesitated, but the truth is I ran to her, full speed, without thinking. She met me near the abandoned shipyard, down by the old rusted docks where waves sounded like bones snapping. I barely had time to smile before something struck the back of my skull. The world tilted, twisted, and I collapsed. When I opened my eyes, everything was dark, canvas burning my skin, rope cutting into my hands. My lungs were cramped, claustrophobic. I was inside a duffel bag. I thrashed, screaming her name, begging, choking on my own breath. Outside, I heard her voice, ice cold, emotionless. You took him from me. Now I'll take everything from you. And then I felt movement, felt gravity shift. The bag tilted, lifted, carried. The next sensation was weightlessness. Then water. Freezing water swallowed me whole. Darkness crushed my chest. I kicked, fought, screamed, but the ocean forced itself into my lungs like liquid fire. My heartbeat slowed, my mind blurred, and the last image burned into me was Lena watching me drown, expression blank, arms crossed, like she, alive, breathing. Junior year, the exact moment everything had started. For a few seconds, I couldn't move. My fingers shook as I touched the desk. The clock ticked above the whiteboard, mocking me with normalcy. My heart pounded so violently I thought I might pass out again. I turned, and there she was, alive, smiling, completely unaware of what she had done. My blood turned to acid. Every cell in my body screamed with a hatred I never knew I was capable of feeling. In one life, she murdered me. In this one, I would never let her destroy me again. I straightened my back, exhaled slowly, and whispered to myself, "Not this time. I'm done saving people who enjoy watching me drown." The bell rang, jolting me back from the storm inside my mind. Students rushed out of their seats, laughter echoing through the room like nothing in the world was wrong. Like the universe hadn't just ripped open and stitched itself back together in front of me. But I wasn't the same person I once was. I wasn't the soft, obedient boy who believed love could save someone who didn't want saving. I was a man reborn in the moment of his own death. As I packed my bag, the faint scent of vanilla soap drifted toward me. It was so familiar it punched the air from my lungs. I closed my eyes, knowing who stood behind me before she spoke a single word. "Aiden," Lena said, tapping her nails against my desk. "Walk me home." Those 3 words used to be enough to set every nerve in my body on fire. I would have jumped up before she finished speaking. I would have smiled like an idiot, rearranged planets for her, set myself on fire just to keep her warm. But that version of me was dead. I rose slowly, keeping my voice steady. "You should find your own way home from now on." For the first time since waking up, I let myself look directly into her eyes. In this timeline, she hadn't broken yet. She still carried the arrogance of someone certain the world would bow to her. But as she stared at me in confusion, I saw something else. A tiny fracture. Like she expected me to bend again, yet I remained made of stone. "Are you angry about something?" she asked. I almost laughed. Angry? I had drowned because of her. She had packed my body into a bag and fed me to the ocean like trash. Angry didn't begin to cover it. "No," I said, pulling my backpack onto my shoulder. "I'm just done being useful." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but I walked away before she could speak. For the first time in 11 years, she watched me leave. And God, it felt good. When I stepped in my house, I heard voices, familiar ones. My mother and Mrs. Hayes, Lena's mother, chatted in the living room, sipping. I smiled politely, keeping the storm inside from showing. "We're both busy. It's better if we go our own ways." Both women blinked as if I'd spoken in a foreign language. "That's new," my mother said carefully. "Did something happen?" "No," I said. "I'm just focusing on my future. In my past life, my future died with me at the bottom of the sea. Not this time." I excused myself and went to my room, shutting the door behind me. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. Same face, same exhausted eyes, same hair falling over my forehead. But there was something new there too, a hardness, a promise. "You're not here to save anyone," I whispered to myself. "You're here to build a life worth living." I opened my laptop and pulled up a blank schedule template. In my old life, I dreamed of going to Columbia University's engineering program. I got in, earned a full scholarship. I would have been one of the youngest accepted in the early admissions round. But for Lena, I threw it away. For Lena, I handed over my dream like it was worthless. For Lena, I sank myself into the ocean. Not in this lifetime. I spread books across the table, planned every hour from 5 in the morning to midnight, study blocks, exercise windows, scholarship research, national competitions, and SAT preparation. This time, my future was mine, and no one, not even the girl who once held my heart, was going to derail me. The next few weeks moved slowly, like the universe was testing my resolve. Every day, I studied harder than I ever had. Not out of desperation, but out of hunger. I wanted to build something unbreakable. I wanted success so massive it erased every memory of weakness. But the universe wasn't done with me. Lena kept appearing. Sometimes she sat next to me in class, tapping her pen, waiting for me to look at her. I didn't. Sometimes she lingered outside the library, pretending she needed help with homework. I walked past. Sometimes she chased me down the hallway calling my name. Not once did I. "If you're mad at me about something, just say it. I don't want to fight with you." I met her eyes, and for a moment, I saw the girl she used to be, the girl who used to cry when her ice cream melted, who once shared her gloves with me in the snow. But then another vision slammed into me. Lena kneeling on the edge of the dock, expression icy, as she watched bubbles rise from the water where my body sank. That memory crushed the softness before it grew. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm just not the person who chases after people anymore." She stared at me, stunned and speechless. The world fell silent around us, like it was holding its breath. Then she whispered, barely audible, "Who are you now?" I stepped back, freeing my wrist from her hand. "Someone you don't get to break again." Her face paled. For the first time, she looked small, caught without armor, unsure of how we switched places so suddenly. "Aiden, please, But I didn't let her finish. I turned and walked away. And when I looked back, she was still standing there, arms wrapped around herself, as if trying to hold together something that was already falling apart. Rumors started swirling soon after. Did you hear? Aiden topped the national mock exam rankings. They said he scored a perfect math section. He's applying for Ivy Leagues. Probably going to get recruited. People who never noticed me before now whisper my name with awe instead of pity. I wasn't the side character anymore. I wasn't the backup plan or the second choice. For the first time, I was leading my own story. And it was working. But fate wasn't finished testing me. One day after class, the school speakers crackled with static. "Aiden Cole, please report to the administration office." A ripple of whispers followed me as I walked outside. When I stepped into the office, my principal sat behind his desk, and beside him, wearing a tight black jacket and looking like trouble incarnate, sat Damian Cross. My blood froze. He wasn't dead. Not why. I used to think destiny was something written in stone, unchangeable, inevitable. But standing in that hallway, watching Damian Cross walk toward Lena like he already owned her world, I realized something. I wasn't here to repeat history. I wasn't the silent shadow trailing behind someone who never looked back. I was here to rise, to succeed, to break free from the cycle that ended with salt water filling my lungs. I was done drowning. Over the next week, Damian became the center of attention. He walked through the school like a king returning to a throne that was always meant to be his. Every step confident, every smirk engineered to provoke. Rumors spread like wildfire. He won some underground racing tournament. He's been scouted by a modeling agency. He's going to star in a new series next year. And Lena, she followed him like a moth drawn to the flame guaranteed to burn her. They sat together at lunch. They whispered in corners. They laughed in hallways. In my past life, every one of those moments cut into me like broken glass. This time, I watched with the emotional distance of a surgeon holding a scalpel. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't angry. I was studying them, like a scientist observing a pair of lab subjects in a controlled environment. Because I knew how the experiment ended. I had seen the casualties. I had felt the death. But what I didn't expect was Damian coming after me. It happened during a school assembly announcing the results of the Regional Academic League. I had taken first place for the third year in a row. The applause echoed through the auditorium, but all I saw was my mother smiling proudly from the back row. For her, I would rewrite everything. After the event, as I headed toward the parking lot, someone stepped into my path, Damian. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, expression sharp. "Congrats, genius boy," he said. "Must feel nice being the perfect student." I walked past him without responding, but he pushed off the wall and followed. Damian's jaw tightened. His eyes flicked, calculating, irritated by the fact that I refused to play his game. Then he stepped closer, smirking. "Lena thinks you're afraid of me. She said you backed away because you know you can't compete." My heart thudded, but not because of jealousy, because I recognized the tactic. In my old life, that sentence would have destroyed me. It would have driven me into reckless competition, right into the trap that ruined everything. But I wasn't the same boy anymore. "You're wrong," I said. "I didn't back away because I'm afraid of you." I turned fully now, eyes locked with his. I walked away because competing for someone who can't tell the difference between love and obsession is a waste of time. A stunned silence swept through the corridor. Students stared, frozen in place like statues. A few gasped. Someone choked on their drink. Damian's smirk vanished. And from the far end of the hallway, where I hadn't noticed her standing, Lena's expression crumbled. Eyes wide, hands trembling, like my words had shattered something inside her. I didn't look again. I walked out of the building and left them standing in the ruins of the moment. That night, my phone vibrated with message after message. From unknown numbers. "Bro, that speech was insane. You roasted him alive. Damien's pissed. Watch your back. From classmates I barely remembered existed. Can you tutor me? I really want to improve. And from Lena, I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I stayed up studying, refining my scholarship applications, planning my path toward Columbia. I worked until my eyes burned and the sun rose again. My life was moving forward, finally, powerfully, intentionally. But the universe seemed determined to drag me back. The next morning, I arrived at school early, expecting the usual quiet. Instead, a crowd gathered near the entrance. People whispered, phones out, filming. At first, I thought it was another fight. Then I heard my name. Aiden, just PL. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't fearless. She looked broken, desperate, terrified of losing something she never thought could disappear. Aiden, please, she whispered. Why are you acting like this? What'd I do? I stared at her, expression cold. Nothing, I said. That's the problem. You never understood what you had until it was gone. Damien stepped through the crowd, voice sharp. Back off, Lena. If he wants to walk away, let him. He's not worth it. She turned to him, furious. Shut up. You don't get to talk about him like that. The crowd gasped. Damien's expression darkened. Wow, he said, glaring between us. Didn't expect that. Looks like you broke your toy princess. Something snapped behind Lena's eyes. Stop treating me like I'm something you own, she screamed. Silence exploded across the courtyard. For the first time, they weren't a team. For the first time, the cracks were visible. Damien stepped closer, towering over her. His voice dropped low, quiet enough only for us near him to hear. If you walk away from me, I will bury you. In the past timeline, the threat made her cling to him like a lifeline. But now, she stepped back. She shook her head. She turned toward me, tears streaming down her face. Every muscle in my body locked. This was the moment. The place where everything had once spiraled into tragedy. But I wasn't her savior anymore. I looked her dead in the eyes. Just one word. Simple. Final. She staggered back as if I'd struck her. Damien looked at me with a smile that wasn't a smile. Too calm, too sharp, too dangerous. Then he walked away. Lena collapsed to her knees, sobbing. The crowd stared, and I walked past her without slowing down. Not because I enjoyed her pain, not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally understood something vital. Some people don't need rescue. They need consequences. That afternoon, my guidance counselor called me into her office. She held a letter with a gold crest at the top, her expression glowy. I wish I could say that things got better after that night. But the truth is, everything only got darker. For weeks, I was living like a ghost inside my own house. The walls that once echoed with laughter now echoed with silence. Silence so heavy, it felt like it could crush my chest. I stopped talking. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I just kept replaying every moment in my head, trying to figure out. Every morning, I watched her getting ready, pretending everything was normal, putting on makeup, humming songs, scrolling her phone with a smile. And I kept wondering. I used to trust her blindly. Now, every vibration of her phone felt like a knife twisting deeper into my ribs. One evening, I finally broke. I walked into the bedroom and said, she looked annoyed, not scared, not guilty, just irritated. What now? She sighed, rolling her eyes. That reaction alone was enough to shatter something inside me. I took a deep breath. My voice was shaking, but my words were sharp. For a second, her face froze. Her eyes widened. Her breath stopped. And in that 1 second, I hoped she would cry, apologize, break down, say she made a mistake. But instead, she laughed. A cold, cruel laugh that punched the air out of my lungs. So what? You finally found out. I felt my heart ripping apart. I never imagined the woman I loved would look so heartless. She leaned back, crossed her arms, and said, more than a year, 365 days of lies, 52 weeks of pretending, countless moments that I thought were real, but never were. My legs went weak. My vision blurred. I held the edge of the table to stop myself from falling. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was what she said next. I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a long time. There are sentences that don't just break your heart. They destroy your soul. All the memories we built, all the dreams we planned, All the sacrifices. With one sentence gone. I asked. She shrugged. Those words hit harder than any punch. Picked up her bag, walked to the door, and without looking back said, the door slammed. The silence afterward was louder than thunder. I fell to the floor, my body shaking, my chest burning, my hands trembling. I cried. Not quiet tears, but the kind of crying that tears your throat open. The kind that comes from the deepest place of pain. I screamed into the empty room. I punched the floor until my knuckles bled. I kept asking myself. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. I looked around the house. Every corner held a memory. Every memory now felt poisoned. The wedding photo on the wall mocked me. Her perfume on the pillow suffocated me. The silence was killing me. I opened the window, letting the cold night air hit my face. And for the first time ever, I understood why some people give up. Because heartbreak doesn't just break your heart. It kills pieces of your soul one breath at a time. That night, standing in front of the mirror, I stared at my reflection, but I didn't see myself. I saw a man broken beyond repair. A man who lost everything. A man who had nothing left to live for. The weight inside my chest was unbearable. A dangerous thought whispered in my head. I closed my eyes, and for a terrifying moment, I almost listened to that voice. I came so close, but then something stopped me. A tiny spark, a small voice, a faint whisper from deep inside. That night, standing on the edge of the darkest thoughts of my life, I realized something powerful. Nobody was coming to save me. Not my friends, not my family, not the woman I gave my world to. If I wanted to survive, I had to save myself. I wiped my tears. I washed my face. I sat on the cold floor of my broken home and whispered. And for the first time in months, I felt something inside me shift. It wasn't strength. Not yet. It was the spark of one decision. Not to exist. Not to survive. But to live, truly live. With purpose, with fire, and with a heart that refuses to die. The next morning, I woke up early. The house was still heavy with silence. But this time, I wasn't afraid of it. I stood in front of the mirror and stared at myself again. Same face, same eyes, same scars, but a different man. A man whose heart had been shattered, but was now preparing to rebuild stronger than ever. I took a deep breath and said out loud. The first thing I did was remove everything that kept me trapped in the past. I took down our wedding photo from the wall. My hands were steady now, not shaking from heartbreak, but from determination. I packed away the memories. Not because I wanted to erase them, but because I refused to let them control me anymore. Every item I put away felt like taking back a piece of my soul. Her clothes gone, her perfume gone, the ring she left behind, locked away in a drawer. And with every step, I felt lighter, like a prisoner walking out of a burning building. I walked into a gym after years. The first day was brutal. My muscles burned. My body felt weak, but my mind was waking up. Every rep felt like punching my demons. Every drop of sweat felt like cleaning poison from my veins. Pain, this time, was my therapy. I trained until tears mixed with sweat. Not because I was broken anymore, but because I was rebuilding. Day after day, I watched the weak version of myself dissolve. My shoulders got stronger. My eyes got sharper. My voice gr. I fell in love with learning. I fell in love with progress. I fell in love with myself. For the first time in years, I felt proud of the person I was becoming. I also started my own business, something I always dreamed of but never pursued because I was busy trying to be enough for someone who never valued me. Work became my new addiction, not to escape, but to build. And slowly, success followed. People who once ignored me now respected me. Doors that once stayed shut now opened. And for the first time, I understood. One evening, months later, I went to a cafe to finish some work. As I sat by the window, typing on my laptop, I heard a voice behind me, a voice I once knew better than my own. Hi, can we talk? I turned around. It was her, the woman who once shattered me. For a moment, I stared at her, not with love, not with hate, but with complete calm. She looked different, not glowing, not confident, but tired, guilty, broken. I miss you, she whispered. I made a mistake. I felt no anger, no heartbreak, just peace. Not because she didn't matter, but because I no longer needed her to feel whole. I looked into her eyes and said. She frowned, confused. She stared at me, speechless as I finished. She broke down crying. But this time, her tears did not move me, because I wasn't standing in front of the woman I loved. I was standing in front of the lesson that changed my life. I shook my head gently and said. Then I walked away, not as a broken man escaping pain, but as a reborn man walking toward his future. As I stepped outside, the sky felt brighter. The air smelled cleaner. The world felt different. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because I survived the heartbreak that almost killed me. I turned my pain into power. I turned betrayal into rebirth. And now, I'm unstoppable. To anyone listening right now, if someone broke you, betrayed you, abandoned you, hear me. Your story is not over. Joe.